'Tis the season, the most wonderful time of the year. Celebration with friends and family. It's time to pay tribute to this jolly month. So join us as we get into the Christmas spirit. You've heard of Elf on the Shelf, but this is Venom on the Shelf.
Home Alone, the classic that sent Macaulay Culkin flying to stardom. Honestly, one of my favourites, no doubt I'm really alone there. It's a charming magical adventure of a kid being neglected and abandoned by his abusive family during the holidays. Okay, it's a lot more charming than it sounds. It was actually the third highest grossing film ever made. It holds the record to this day for being the highest grossing comedy ever made, so what's the best thing to do? Make a sequel! I mean, the plot was all resolved. Kevin realised how important family is. Kevin's family realised how much they'd mistreated him. So, there's realistically nowhere to take the story, but just make a sequel. Just because you can, make a sequel.
Well, I'm sure he was kidding.
The film had no reason to have a sequel, but lo and behold, 2 years later, here one came along. So we open with the exact same opening titles, the exact same shot of the house, and the exact same shot of the huge family rushing around. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. So despite coming out 2 years later, this film is set just 1 year after the original. Weird. And they're going on vacation to Florida this time. Does this family ever just stay home for Christmas? In fact, after losing their son last year, you'd think they'd realise how important family is and decide to stay put 1 year for once.
I hope so.
Anyway, Kevin has some kind of recorder and captures the audio of a commercial for a hotel in New York City. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. So Kevin's dad makes a mistake and the alarm clock gets shut off again. Okay, what the hell? Alright, now, the first movie wasn't 100% believable, but it was a charming kids' fantasy film. You can stretch your imagination enough. But now we're supposed to believe 1 year later and everything is happening the exact same way again. I know there's a slight change before you all send the comments. In the first one, a storm cut off the alarm clock, and this time it's his dad, but it's the same setup the exact same way. And I'm not joking, almost everything in this film is recycled from the first one. People consider it a harmless running gag, and yes, sometimes it can be, but a lot of the time it's just lazy recycling, and it just reminds me that this movie just shouldn't exist. Even the director, Chris Columbus, admitted on the audio commentary that it's pretty much a remake of the first film. Nah, I guess he was wrong too. I mean, what does he know? He only directed it.
My tie's in the bathroom. I can't go in there because Uncle Frank's taking a shower. He says if I walked in there and saw him naked, I'd grow up never feeling like a real man.
Meh, you saw Michael Jackson naked and you turned out fine.
Sick.
So Kevin heads into the bathroom to get his tie, sees his uncle naked, records him threatening him for a forced way to further the plot later on, haha. We then cut to Kevin and Buzz in some kind of choir where Buzz starts putting these plastic candle lights over his ears and everyone bursts into hysterics over this. Why is this so amusing? I don't get the joke. I mean, everyone laughs like hyenas over this?
Why is that funny? I don't know.
And his parents are clearly humiliated and can see Buzz taunting him, but yet when Kevin fights back, he's still in trouble. Kevin! How dare you get bullied, you little brat!
I don't care for your choice of words.
So Buzz gives a phony, insincere apology, but I must admit it is kind of funny.
My prank was immature and ill-timed.
So after his family continue to buy his fake apology somehow, we copy another direct shot from the original film. Buzz whispers an insult to him, which somehow nobody hears, but you don't care because Buzz manages to save it.
What a troubled young man.
But why do they still treat him like dirt? It makes no sense. Everyone was great with him at the end of the first film, including Buzz. I don't expect them to be best friends, but they seemed okay. The adults even talked down to Kevin still. You were all amazed that he went shopping by himself and stayed alive on his own for a week. You may not have known about Harry and Marv, but you knew enough to trust the poor kid.
Kevin, last time we all tried to take a trip, we had a problem that started just like this.
You'd think we'd learn our lesson and stop being dickheads. But nope.
Then you can stay up here the rest of the night.
Fine. I don't want to be down there anyway. I can't trust anybody in this family. And you know what? If I had my own money, I'd go on my own vacation. Alone. Without any of you guys. And I'd have the most fun in my whole life.
I can understand Kevin's motivations here. I can. I mean, his family treat him like garbage still, so him wanting to repeat the events in the first film on a grander scale makes sense. The family haven't learned, they still treat him horribly. His motivation is fine.
Well, you got your wish last year. Maybe you'll get it again this year.
Why would any parent say this? You lost your kid for a week. At Christmas, he was 8 at the time. It probably traumatized him for life, and now you're gonna wish it on him again? You are a horrible woman. Jesus, Kate McCann's got nothing on you.
I'm afraid you're mistaken.
So a convenient newspaper hits the McAllisters' front door, revealing that Harry and Marv have escaped prison. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. Before the transportation people drive into the family statue, everyone wakes up late, they admit they're recycling material. We did it again! The family all rush around, and when they get to the van, they realise that something's a bit off.
12, 13. Where's Kevin?
14. It's a good thing I have my own ticket, just in case you guys try to ditch me.
Okay, that was actually cleverly done. Good job.
Thank you.
The family rush through the airport as Kevin gets stuck behind putting new batteries in his recorder because it's apparently that important, and he just so happens to end up behind a random guy in the exact same coat and scarf as his dad in the exact same airport. Just a coincidence. I'm sure! So his family rush onto their plane without checking. Seriously, wouldn't you make sure that Kevin was the first one on the goddamn plane? And Kevin elsewhere bumps into a woman losing his boarding pass, but they're pressed for time, so instead of checking things out, they just trust Kevin's word and instantly let him on the plane. This is why terrorists hijack your planes, you know. See, here's an issue I have with this movie. You have to stretch your disbelief to such an absurd length just to be able to even begin to contemplate that this film can even exist. Sure, the first movie wasn't realistic, but it never really pressed it. It was a harmless, imaginative film. The worst thing was an iron on someone's face. Everything else could easily happen in the 90s, but here you have to believe that they would go on vacation just 1 year later again, that the entire family still treat Kevin like dirt for no reason. They see Buzz picking on him and punish Kevin instead, sending him to the attic again the day before leaving. The alarm clock gets reset and they oversleep again. Kevin just so happens to be stuck with his dad's bag, so he has some kind of money. They just so happen to get separated in the exact same airport as a guy wearing the exact same clothes as his father. Just so Kevin wanders onto the wrong plane, and the staff are so incompetent they let him on without checking a goddamn thing, and Kevin even wears headphones just so he doesn't hear that he's on his way to New York goddamn City. That's a lot to swallow, and it would only get worse.
I have that feeling.
So Kevin arrives in New York just as his family realise they're terrible parents and the kids need to be put into care. And I'd like to clarify, this means that throughout the entire film, Kevin is never actually home alone. The title makes no sense. The original title was actually Alone Again, which, you know, does make sense, is far more logical than Home Alone 2, not really Home Alone, but, you know, this movie invented clickbait.
Yes, sir?
What city is that over there?
That's New York, sir.
Yikes, I did it again.
Actually, both times you were completely innocent, dude. You've done nothing wrong. Okay, you like loitered around putting batteries in your recorder, but you're a kid, it's what you do. Your dad should have been paying attention.
My family's in Florida. I'm in New York. I made my family disappear.
And this means they have completely disregarded the entire message in the first movie. The whole first movie was spent delivering the message that family is what Christmas is all about, being with your loved ones. And yet now, just 1 year later, Kevin just seems to have completely forgotten this and is happy to be on his own again. Again, I guess I can understand him being happy. They are douchebags. But does no one question this? He gets a taxi for crying out loud. Nobody notices a kid walking around New York, and how does he never once get stabbed or shot? I apologise to any New Yorkers I've offended with this stereotype.
As a matter of fact, this has happened before. It's becoming sort of a McAllister family travel tradition.
Funnily enough, we never lose our luggage.
He was left at home by accident last year.
Yeah, That's what my wife meant when she said it's becoming a McAllister family travel tradition.
Gee, thanks for explaining that. Oh, and look, Kevin just so happens to land in the exact same city that Harry and Marv just so happen to be after they just so happen to escape prison. Just a coincidence? I'm bloody well sure!
We get ourselves a couple of phony passports, and we hightail it to some foreign country.
Arizona?
Okay, that was funny. Marv's great. And then, just to stretch your imagination even further, in one of the biggest cities in America, Kevin just so happens to cross the exact same street as Harry and Marv. But oh no, that's only after Kevin just so happens to stumble across the exact same hotel he conveniently saw a commercial for earlier. There's only so much I could buy here, guys. Oh, and they decide to rip off Mary Poppins with the bird lady in the streets. Hey, let's steal from other franchises too! And, well, they're filming inside the Plaza Hotel, so I better get a cameo from the owner in there somewhere.
Excuse me, where's the lobby?
Down the hall and to the left.
Thanks.
Yeah, Trump. I don't mean to step on your toes and everything. You're a very, very successful man, but you clearly said to the left, and Kevin clearly goes to the right. He can't do anything right! So Kevin uses his recorder to alter his voice, and somehow the hotel staff believe this. Yeah, they ignore the fact that it clearly sounds fake, and they ignore the fact that he doesn't ask for a booking in date or time, nor do they ask. It just works. Just go with it, we'll be here all day.
You promise?
Alright, so Kevin checks in, and they don't need any proof of ID, and they don't call the police as he's a minor, but, you know, it's cool, because Kevin does actually have a great childlike sass to the receptionist. I actually do think his acting is vastly improved in this one. So Tim Curry and Rob Schneider, they hired the best work in New York, I see, are a bit weary about Kevin, but for some reason don't really check out the credit cards just yet as Schneider takes him to his room.
Is the temperature in the room okay?
It's okay.
Do you know how the TV works?
I'm 10 years old. TV's my life.
Wait, what?
I'm 10 years old.
He's 10. But this is a year later, right?
He was left at home by accident last year.
But yet, in Home Alone 1...
I'm 8 years old.
I hate to break it to you guys, but 8 plus 1 isn't 10. I'm sorry, Chris Columbus. I think you need to fire your maths teacher. How did no one spot this? So Kevin goes swimming and loses his shorts in Michael Jackson's favourite scene before watching scary movies and eating loads of desserts. Again, how is this slipping under the radar? No one has seen his dad. They just buy all of this? Okay, so Tim Curry enters the room to investigate. So on one hand, I guess they do question it, but on the other hand, do they have enough evidence to be allowed to check out his room like this? I'm so conflicted here. Is this dumb or not?
This is great.
But Kevin has a backup plan. I guess he had a blow-up clown doll that his mum gave him earlier on standby, just in case this happened, and set it up ready. I mean, I know he did this in the first one, and it was silly then, but at least then he was home and in his comfort zone.
I'm the king of the cool Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'm gonna slap you silly!
Probably just jealous because that clown was scarier than his one. Anyway, Kevin realises that his Uncle Rob just so happens to live in New York. He was mentioned in the first film, so I'll let this one go. And this is when Kevin begins to miss his family. See, this is the issue. What is the point of this movie existing when you're just retreading the exact same message of the goddamn first film? We even see his mum missing him, but then why did she still mistreat him? What was even the point of the first movie? Either way, we have a pointless film. Either the first one is pointless because nobody learned anything, or this film is pointless because it's the exact same story.
Mr. McAllister, here's your very own cheese pizza.
Just cheese. Weirdo. This is no pineapple. So Kevin cruises around getting toys with nobody questioning it still as Tim Curry finally realises the credit cards are stolen. Wouldn't they be missing, not stolen? Like, they know Kevin's got them. So. And why did it take him so long to check? So we cut back to Harry and Marv, who now plan to rob a toy store. Earlier, didn't Harry say...
That's very smart, Marv. You bust out of jail to rob 14 cents from a Santa Claus?
And now he's open to robbing a toy store. They even acknowledge their stupidity.
There's nobody dumb enough to knock off a toy store on Christmas Eve.
Oh, yes, there is.
Yay, we're morons!
Marv, hey, nice house, but there's no bathroom in it.
Okay, I do love Marv. He's the best part of the film. But look, these guys weren't exactly bumbling idiots before. They were threatening. Yes, they were outsmarted by a kid, but they felt a threat whenever they cornered him. Now they're in a toy house and somehow no one spots them, but they have been turned into a complete joke.
You shopping alone?
In New York? Sir, I'm afraid of my own shadow.
So Kevin donates some money to charity, which I guess is meant to make him likable after what happens later, before Mr. Duncan, the owner, repays the favour.
May I make a suggestion?
Okay.
Take the turtle doves.
Doves. Why doves?
Because doves make you look like a badass, that's why.
Alright, so Kevin doesn't realise that it is actually Mr. Duncan until afterwards, which I like. It's a really subtle moment. He refers to Mr. Duncan in the third person because if he acknowledged him as himself, it would feel more like he was asking Kevin for the money instead of Kevin giving it out of the kindness of his heart. So, good job, movie. Anyway, Harry and Marv just so happen to find Kevin again, and for some reason they seem shocked and surprised when he screams out for help in public. What did they expect was gonna happen? And so I guess this is New York because much like Jason Voorhees, they chase Kevin down and nobody does a goddamn thing. He uses an object to throw on the floor to trip them up. It somehow works despite them blatantly seeing him doing it, and this would also not make you slip, but hey ho. He returns to the hotel, but they too chase him due to the credit card fraud, and honestly, this film is now an entire goddamn cartoon. A stupid live action cartoon that bends the fabric of reality every chance it gets.
I've had enough of this vacation. I'm going home.
No, you can't do that. Then you might actually be home alone.
Wow, I never knew that.
So Kevin is cornered in his hotel room until he uses a recording of the TV to trick the bad guys, and it just so happens to fit their exact situation absolutely perfectly, even down to the names.
Don't give me that. You've been spooching with everybody. Snuffy, Al, Leo, Little Mo with the gimpy leg, Cheeks, Bony Bob, Cliff. No. It's a lie.
Okay, I don't even care. That was hilarious. Anyway, Kevin escapes out of the hotel room's back door into the corridor. What?
Come to Papa.
You know, this isn't the first time Macaulay Culkin has been touched by a smooth criminal. Okay, that's the last one.
We're busted out of the clink and we're doing fine. We're gonna be doing even better because we're not robbing houses anymore. Now we're robbing toy stores. At midnight tonight, we're hitting Duncan's toy chest. 5 floors of cash.
Okay, I know Marv is an idiot, but why would he reveal plans like this? See, this is another issue. They took a funny character like Marv, who yes, was a moron, but they made him so unrealistically stupid. He's practically a cartoon character now. It's absurd, and Harry is supposed to be the smart one, and yet he doesn't even cut Marv off until after he's revealed the plans, and not until he mentions getting fake passports.
That ain't him. Get out. Put him down. That ain't him. Should have shot him when we had the chance.
You've got a gun? You've had a gun this whole time and you've not even bothered to use it? You've said several times you want to kill him. In the first one, you said you want to rip off his testicles. You're supposed to be the smart one, Harry. What are you doing?
Yeah, but this time he doesn't have a house full of dangerous goodies to get us with.
No, that would make him actually home alone. So we cut back to his family who are watching It's a Wonderful Life, and it's still in French for some reason, despite being in Florida for another lazy running gag that isn't funny, before they're informed of Kevin's whereabouts.
I wonder if he'd know enough to go to my brother's place.
Well, this movie makes absolutely no sense, so probably. Alright, we do get a really well done scene of Kevin walking around at night being scared by some locals. It's really intense and you do feel for him until he ruins it with his face. I didn't even have a joke here. I just wanted to draw attention to that face.
I don't want to ever take a vacation like this again.
Until next year when I'll somehow be 12 and I'll make the exact same wish again.
How exciting.
So we return to the Mary Poppins ripoff, who we later find out was really nice, so again, why do these people just show up looking like serial killers all the time? Does nobody ever say hello anymore? She slowly helps him when he's stuck, but not until after traumatizing the poor kid.
It's pretty cold out. I could sure go for a cup of hot chocolate. How about you? My treat.
How? You left your bag and the money and everything at the hotel. How are you paying for anything? Right, so Kevin has a nice charming scene with a supposed villain of the film to find out their true colours, but it's very hit and miss. Despite being 10, Kevin does give her this nice speech about love and how it's worth risking the heartbreak for someone you truly care about. He even makes a weird analogy to some broken roller skates, but it works.
A person's heart and a person's feelings are very different than skates.
Well, they're kind of the same thing. If you aren't going to use your heart, then what's the difference if it gets broken? If you just keep it to yourself, maybe it'll be like my rollerblades. When you do decide to try it, it won't be any good.
Of course, only until they completely screw up the entire message.
I always think I'll have a lot of fun if I'm alone. But when I'm alone, it isn't that much fun at all. I don't care how much people bug me sometimes. I'd rather be with somebody than by myself.
Yep. You heard that correctly, folks. If you are a loner, if you don't have friends, you are doomed to be miserable all of your life. Yeah. No. Screw you, Kev. Screw you. In fact, how would you even know your whole family hates you? Yeah, apparently you need other people to make you happy? No, this message is just warped. I don't have many friends and I'm fine with that now. You can't truly become happy until you learn to love yourself. If you genuinely require other people around you to make you happy, you're not a very strong person. You need that independence, and Kevin just insulted a bunch of people worldwide. Kevin's turned into a cock.
You've done something wrong.
A lot of things.
Did you know that a good deed erases a bad deed?
What? Get bent! Are you kidding me? This is the feel-good, heartwarming Christmas film that everyone loves? And she literally just said you can do whatever you want as long as you do something good afterwards. I can push an old lady down the stairs and then buy her flowers afterwards and it's fine. It refutes the whole thing. The message in this film are warped as hell. Punch a baby in the face as long as you give him a cuddle afterwards. This movie is terrible!
That was very nice.
Anyway, Kevin decides to protect Mr. Duncan's toy shop, breaks into his uncle's house and somehow instantly has all of these traps prepared. Jesus, he has to be Jigsaw predetermining Harry and Marv's every move like this. Also, it's his uncle's abandoned house, so he's still not home alone. Should be called Abandoned House Alone 2. Lost in crap script.
What kind of hotel allows a child to check in alone?
The boy had a very convincing story.
What kind of idiots do you have working here?
She's talking to the screenwriters. Also, why don't they just tell them that they were convinced his dad was staying with them? So Harry and Marv... Wait, did they just wait inside the store long after closing hours for midnight to hit? Wouldn't the staff make sure the store was empty before shutting down? And why would they wait until bang on midnight? And why do I care so much? Kevin shows up, takes their picture and breaks the glass, setting off the alarm. Vandalism! But as long as you do something nice afterwards, it's okay. In fact, by that message, can't Marv and Harry do something nice after all of this? And just to solidify my point further that this is a stupid cartoon, Marv lands on a plank that sends Harry flying 75 feet into the air. Well, that's just silly.
I understand.
They do make up for it though, as Marv actually poses for a picture. Okay, that's hilarious. But why do they care? They're already wanted by the police. They broke out of jail. They're already wanted. Kevin taking a picture of them robbing a store makes no sense. Why? I don't understand why they care that there's a picture proving they're robbing a store when they're already wanted by the police. Oh my God. In fact, didn't they say...
Spent 9 months in jail thinking we had the worst luck in the universe.
But it's Christmas! And earlier the newspaper said that they broke out recently. So what the hell have they been doing for 3 months?
May I do the thinking, please?
So despite being one of the biggest cities in the world, Kevin just so happens to make it to his uncle's house just as his mum leaves. This leads to Kevin teasing the thieves who threaten him right in the middle of the street and nobody notices. Anyway, Kevin throws half a dozen bricks at Marv's face, which should kill him, but I'll let it go because, okay, it is quite funny. Yeah, don't get used to it. Kevin must also play cricket or something, have aim like this to land every single goddamn shot.
That's very generous of him.
So then we pretty much rehash the first film entirely. Harry and Marv try to get into the house, Marv gets a crotch shot, but the issue here is this. In the first film, Kevin was just defending his house. It was fun. He was a kid protecting his home. Here, Kevin is going out of his way to hurt these men. And not just hurt, but maim and murder. This is like Kevin has become Michael goddamn Myers. He has no no reason to put these guys through this much pain. He could easily lure them to the police station or just hand in the photos. Instead, he puts them through this, and guess what? The traps aren't even funny, they're horrifying. Look, he even turns up the voltage to make it worse. And how did Harry even manage to do a perfect handstand so easily? The problem with this film is, Marv is so entertaining, him and Harry are kind of like the anti-heroes now. This film is written as if Kevin's the antagonist and Harry and Marv are the protagonists, the anti-heroes maybe. It's all written backwards. He's luring these entertaining people to a home to torture them. Everything's wrong. Why is this funny? This is mortifying. Roger Ebert, I agree with you. He also slated these traps in this film for being sadistic and not being the least bit funny. But the messed up thing is, the director, Chris Columbus, admitted on set nobody laughed.
Wow. What a hole.
I'll say that every time I go down on my girlfriend.
Merry Christmas.
So Marv slips on some goo on perfectly flat ground, which somehow sends him sliding into some shelves with paint cans, knocking them all over him to inspire Jumanji a few years later.
I'm gonna murder that kid.
Gee, if only I had a gun of some kind. And they still are on the hunt for him. They had no reason to look for him in the first place, and now they're on the verge of death. There's even less motivation to kill the kid. Let it go, guys.
Hey! Don't you know a kid always wins against two idiots?
Is that a saying now?
So the chase continues until we do get a nice funny throwback to the original.
Don't worry, Harry! I'll get him!
Do you guys give up? Have you had enough pain?
Never!
That's funny as well, but why? I mean, Harry is again supposed to be the clever one, but here they are hearing an obvious tool chest coming down the stairs towards them, and they don't even think to move. Marv I can understand, but not Harry.
Whoa.
Nice night for a neck injury.
What happened to Kevin? You took this lovable, adorable kid who everyone liked. Not his family, but the audience everybody liked. And then you turned him into Leatherface. He's murdering these men for no reason. What have you done to Kevin McAllister? Hell, he even sets the rope on fire while they're on it. It's even edited like a damn horror movie. This isn't funny. This is scary as hell.
Am I bothering you?
So Kevin only now calls the cops in hope they just take the word of some random kid's voice on the phone, telling them to meet him in the park.
Hey, I'm down here. Better come and get me before I call the cops.
Again, this shouldn't motivate them because they're already on the run from the cops. Anyway, Kevin trips over and almost has a nightmare, nearly slipping back in a page master before they finally kidnap him and just so happen to take him to the exact location he told the police to meet him and the exact location where he can get saved in time.
We're dangerous.
Pull the trigger.
Harry, shut up.
Just pull the trigger.
Harry.
Any minute now, you've hunted this kid for a year. Just pull the trigger.
Shut up. I want to enjoy this.
So Mary Poppins Reject shows up and now Harry tries to shoot but can't as the gun is stuck before the criminals are stopped by birdseed. This movie sucks.
You gotta do better than that.
I guess Marv makes up for it with his infamous man scream, but the bird woman laughs like an evil villain. It's horrifying. The cops show up, arrest Harry and Marv. Kevin writes an apology to Mr. Duncan for breaking the window, but remember, one good deed erases a bad one. Whatever.
How convenient.
Anyway, Kevin talks to the big Christmas tree about how important family is, despite learning all of this in the original, before his mum finally reunites with him.
Mom, I'm sorry.
For what? You've literally done nothing wrong! Okay, you lured two grown men into a building and tortured them and possibly killed them and psychologically scarred them and maybe even paralysed them. But you're not even apologising for that! You probably should. The family wake up on Christmas morning to find Mr. Duncan has sent them all presents, so did he break in to put them there? And Buzz is suddenly nice to Kevin again at the end.
Merry Christmas, Kevin.
Yay! Time to mistreat him again next year! And finally, Kevin Has he run away from home again already? He really did! Kevin gives the turtle doves to the bird lady as his relative yells at him for something he's done wrong during the movie. And that was Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. How was it? It's probably the best sequel. Is that really saying a lot? It's just unnecessary, unoriginal, lazy, but I mean, it's still well made. The cinematography is great, the music is as astounding as the first film. All of the acting performances are stunning, including Culkin. It's well put together, my issue is just the script. Not only does it rehash absolutely everything from the first movie, but put it into a big city, changing location doesn't automatically make it original. Look at Jason. But there's so much that just doesn't add up. The original was silly, but it worked as a kid's fantasy. Nothing in this really works for me. There's just too much to chew on, too much to buy, too much to stretch to believe. It's a sequel that didn't need to happen, and in my mind, didn't deliver.